The sun had not yet risen over the rugged canyons of the southwest, but Naya was already awake. Her senses were sharp, attuned to every sound and movement around her. She was an Apache woman, born and raised among the hills, streams, and hidden caves of her homeland. Her people had taught her from a young age how to read the land, how to listen to the wind, and how to move quietly so that no one could track her steps. Naya was proud, fearless, and strong. She loved her family and her tribe deeply, and she cherished the freedom of living in the vast, untamed land. But the world was changing. The arrival of outsiders, the spreading of settlements, and the relentless push of soldiers and raiders had begun to threaten her people. Her life, once full of laughter, hunting, and songs around the fire, was now filled with tension and fear. Naya's family tried to stay hidden, moving from one canyon to another, but one morning, that safety was shattered. A group of men, mounted on horses and armed with ropes and weapons, had surrounded the area where Naya and her family were. They moved quickly, cutting off escape routes. The noise of shouting and horses' hooves filled the air. Naya's mother called out warnings, and her brothers grabbed what they could to defend themselves. But the men were too many, too well prepared. In the chaos, Naya was seized by a tall, broad-shouldered man. She struggled fiercely, kicking and pulling, her heart pounding. "You will not take me," she shouted, her voice echoing against the canyon walls. But the man's grip was strong, and she could not break free. She felt a surge of anger, not fear. "I would rather die than be yours," she spat, her words defiant. The men laughed at her resistance, seeing it as stubbornness. Among them was a cowboy named Ethan. He was tall, with sun-weathered skin and eyes that had seen much of the world. But unlike the others, he did not laugh. He watched Naya closely, noticing the fire in her eyes, the way she refused to bend, the strength in her hands as she tried to push him away. He could feel the injustice of the moment pressing on him. Ethan had grown up in the same land, riding horses and helping with ranches, but he had always believed in fairness. He understood survival and the harshness of life, yet something about Naya stirred a part of him he rarely acknowledged. She was not just another person to be controlled. She was alive, aware, and unbroken. The men tied Naya's hands and forced her to ride with them. She kept her head high, refusing to look defeated. Her heart raced, but her mind remained clear. She studied her surroundings, looking for any chance to escape. Every detail mattered. The bend of a river, the position of the cliffs, the slope of the canyon floor. During the ride, Ethan noticed her determination. He could see that she was not afraid to fight, not afraid to risk everything for freedom. He felt something unfamiliar, a deep respect, almost awe. He began to realize that helping her might be the right thing to do. But the others were watching him, and any open act of defiance would put him in danger. He had to be careful. That evening, the group stopped to rest. Naya sat apart, her back against a rock, refusing to eat or drink from their supplies. The men sneered, calling her stubborn and ungrateful, but she ignored them. Her spirit would not be broken. Ethan, meanwhile, quietly took water from the jug and left it near her, without making a scene. It was a small gesture, but Naya noticed. She did not speak to him, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of curiosity and caution. The night was long. The canyon was silent except for the wind and the distant cries of animals. Naya could feel every sound, every movement. She thought of her family, wondering if they had escaped, if they were safe. She made mental notes of the terrain, memorizing the paths, the rocks, and the trees that could serve as cover if she had to run. She refused to give up, refused to show weakness. Ethan could not sleep. He kept thinking about Naya, about how she faced danger without fear. He knew the men he traveled with had no honor in their actions. They saw people as property, as things to be controlled. But Naya was not a thing. She was a person, proud and alive. He felt a responsibility growing inside him, a need to do something that could make a difference. Over the next few days, the journey was grueling. The men were harsh, forcing Naya to move quickly and endure hardships she had not chosen. But she remained defiant. When they mocked her, she met their words with silence, with fierce stares that dared them to underestimate her. Each day, Ethan found himself moved by her courage. He began to think quietly about ways to help her without drawing attention. He knew it would be dangerous, but he could not stand by and watch her suffer. Naya began to notice small signs that someone might not be entirely against her. A soft warning, a hand left untied for a moment, a glance that lingered too long to be coincidence. She did not trust easily. Too many had tried to take her freedom, but she paid attention. Her instincts told her there might be one among the men who would not betray her. She kept her distance, watching, waiting for proof. One night, under the cover of darkness, the group stopped near a narrow canyon. The men settled in to rest, their laughter and voices fading as sleep claimed them. Naya's heart pounded in her chest as she lay awake, thinking. She knew that if she wanted to survive, she needed an opportunity. And she sensed that Ethan might be the key. Ethan quietly approached her, his movements careful and deliberate. "I'm not like the others," he whispered, barely audible. "I want to help you." Naya's eyes narrowed. She did not trust him yet. She could feel the danger in every word, every motion. "Why should I believe you?" she asked, her voice low but firm. "Every man I have seen only wants control." "I know," he said softly. "But I'm different. I can't explain why, but I cannot let them harm you." She studied him, searching for any sign of deceit. His eyes were steady, not cold or calculating. There was something honest there, something she had not expected. She did not speak, but she did not move away. The tension between them was quiet, but powerful. In that moment, Naya realized that her strength could not be measured by defiance alone. She would need allies, even if only one person, to regain her freedom. Ethan knew he had to be patient, to earn her trust without forcing it. The dawn of a new day would bring decisions, challenges, and the possibility of escape. As the first rays of sunlight touched the canyon, Naya looked out at the rugged land she loved. Her heart burned with the desire for freedom, for her family, and for the life she had not chosen to lose. She did not know what the day would bring, but she knew one thing for certain. She would never give up, never submit, never let her spirit be taken. And Ethan, watching from a short distance, felt a quiet determination as well. He had seen courage in a way he never had before, and he knew that helping Naya was no longer a choice. It was a responsibility. The road ahead was dangerous, filled with uncertainty, but both of them were ready, in their own ways, to face it together. The canyon was still and quiet, but the air was filled with unspoken tension. The story of Naya and Ethan, of defiance and courage, of morality and choice, was only beginning. The first light of dawn crept over the canyon, painting the rocks in soft shades of gold and orange. Naya stirred, alert as always, her sharp eyes scanning the surroundings. The men who had captured her were still asleep, their heavy breathing and the gentle sounds of their horses the only movement in the quiet morning. She could feel her heart beating fast, but this time, it was not just fear, it was hope. Ethan had already been awake, watching her from a short distance. He had spent the night planning every detail, considering the safest way to help her escape without drawing attention. He knew it would be risky, but he could not leave her to the others. Naya had survived the impossible with her courage intact, and now it was time for a chance at freedom. Carefully, he approached her. "Now is the time," he whispered. "We can move quietly and reach a safe spot before they wake." Naya's eyes narrowed. She still did not fully trust him. Many had promised safety before, only to bring pain. But there was something in his steady gaze, something that told her he meant it. She nodded slowly, her muscles tensing for the movement ahead. Ethan untied her ropes quietly, keeping an ear on the sleepers around them. Naya's hands were free, and she immediately checked the knots to make sure they were completely undone. She did not say a word, only watched him, ready for any sign of betrayal. But Ethan's actions were careful, deliberate, and cautious. He did not touch her or speak unnecessarily. He only ensured she was free. The canyon was still and silent as they began to move. Naya led the way, using her knowledge of the land to navigate paths that the captors would not notice. Ethan followed, careful to match her pace and keep his presence discreet. Each step was measured, every rock and bush considered. As they made their way through the narrow passages, at one point, a small rattlesnake appeared, coiled and alert. Naya froze for a moment, her instincts ready to react. But Ethan quickly reached out, moving the snake gently with a stick, allowing it to retreat safely into the bushes. Naya's eyes flicked toward him, not with gratitude, but with cautious recognition. She saw that he was not careless, that he respected life as she did. Hours passed. The sun rose higher, casting light across the cliffs and canyons. The group of captors had not yet noticed the absence of one of their prisoners. Naya and Ethan moved swiftly but quietly, stopping only to catch their breath or to find safer paths. The terrain was rough, filled with loose rocks, steep cliffs, and hidden thickets, but Naya was in her element. She moved like she belonged to the land, every motion precise, every decision thoughtful. Ethan followed closely, learning from her movements and adapting to the rhythm of her steps. He began to understand how she had survived so long in this harsh environment. Her courage was not just in her defiance but in her knowledge and patience. Every small decision she made was meant to protect herself and preserve her freedom. By mid-morning, they reached a narrow ridge that overlooked a wide valley below. Naya paused, scanning the landscape. She could see the path the captors might take, the locations where they might search for her. The valley was vast, but there were hiding spots, small caves, and streams that could conceal them. She chose a path that would keep them safe, moving carefully down the slope. Ethan stayed close, never ahead, never behind, letting her take the lead. She could feel his respect for her independence, and though she did not fully trust him yet, she knew he would not force her to rely on him in ways she did not choose. They paused near a stream, the water running clear and cold. Naya crouched and drank quickly, then motioned for Ethan to do the same. He obeyed, understanding that every small pause mattered for survival. As they rested for a few moments, Naya spoke softly, her voice low but firm. "Do not think this makes us friends," she said. "I do not trust easily. I will not be yours, and I will not be grateful for anything I have not earned myself." Ethan nodded. "I do not expect friendship," he replied. "I only want you to be free." She studied him for a long moment, then nodded silently. There was something in his honesty that she could not ignore. For the first time since her capture, she allowed herself to believe that freedom might be possible. The next part of their journey was the most dangerous. The captors could awaken at any moment and notice her absence. They had to move through a narrow canyon, where the walls were steep and the path was treacherous. Naya took careful steps, placing her feet with precision, testing every rock before committing her weight. Ethan mirrored her movements, trusting her judgment and careful not to disrupt her balance. A small misstep could have sent them tumbling, but Naya's knowledge of the land guided them safely through. Every step forward was a victory, every careful motion a testament to her skill and courage. She did not speak much, only issuing quiet warnings when needed, and Ethan followed, learning to move with patience and respect. As they emerged from the narrow canyon, the first rays of full sunlight illuminated a wide plateau. It was quiet, peaceful, and hidden from the main paths below. Naya scanned the area carefully, then motioned for Ethan to follow. This would be their temporary safe spot, a place to catch their breath and plan the next move. For the first time since their journey began, Naya allowed herself a small measure of relief. She could see the horizon, the distant hills that might lead her back to her people. And she felt a spark of hope ignite within her. Ethan stood nearby, watching her, understanding that this moment was not about him, it was about her reclaiming her freedom. They rested for a short while, listening to the sounds of the canyon, the wind in the rocks, the distant calls of birds, the trickle of a stream. Naya reflected on her journey, on the danger she had faced, and on the courage it had taken to survive. She knew the road ahead would still be difficult, but for the first time, she felt the possibility of safety. Finally, Naya turned to Ethan. "You have helped me," she said quietly, "but do not think this changes anything. I am not yours. I will not belong to anyone but myself." Ethan smiled faintly. "I do not want you to belong to me," he said. "I only want to see you free." There was a long silence as the two of them looked out over the canyon. The wind blew gently, carrying with it the scent of earth and grass. The light of the sun was warm, filling the space with a sense of calm and hope. Naya felt her spirit lift, stronger than it had been for days. She had survived, she had resisted, and she had taken a step toward reclaiming her life. Slowly, they began to move again, heading toward the distant hills. Naya led the way, her steps confident and purposeful. Ethan followed, silently supporting her, respecting her choices, and ensuring she had every opportunity to stay safe. Together, they navigated the rugged land, moving carefully, listening to every sound, and watching for any signs of danger. As the day wore on, Naya could see familiar markers in the distance, the shapes of hills, the bends of rivers, and the hidden paths she had known as a child. Her heart swelled with hope and determination. Freedom was close, and she would not let it slip away. By the time the sun reached its peak, they had arrived at a secluded grove, hidden from any main trails. Naya paused, taking in the safety of the spot. She looked at Ethan, and though she did not fully trust him, she acknowledged the role he had played in helping her reach this point. "You have kept your word," she said. "I will not forget this. But remember, my life is mine alone." "I understand," Ethan replied, "and I respect that more than you know." Naya took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the sun on her face and the cool breeze on her skin. She was free. For now. And the path ahead was hers to choose. Ethan watched silently, knowing his part in this story had ended, and that the true strength and courage belonged to Naya. As the canyon stretched out before them, bright and alive with the colors of morning, Naya felt a deep sense of pride and relief. She had faced danger, resisted captivity, and taken the first steps back to her people. Her spirit remained unbroken, her courage intact, and her heart determined to reclaim the life she had always deserved. The story of the night and the dawn was over, but Naya's journey was just beginning. She was free, strong, and ready to face whatever challenges the world might bring, carrying with her the knowledge that courage, determination, and respect for oneself could overcome even the darkest moments.